Alrighty. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to NickTalks. Alright. I wasn't going to record a video today, but the other night I was powering through my outlines and I did 3 video script outline things. So I figured I might as well bust one out right now. I got the day off. I'm kind of chilling and I'm like this close to stumbling into partying too hard to do it. So do it now, and then I'm gonna get back to getting a little banged up, cleaning the house, doing all that stuff. Cool. Hope everyone's doing well. Not too much to report on any kind of update. So let's get into it, shall we? Okay. This is very appropriate for today. I was kind of worried because normally I write one outline at a time. And I do the outline based on things that I'm currently passionate about. And I guess we'll see how things go as we progress through these pre-prepared outlines. Because I said 3. So this one and then 2 more. And so we'll see if the next videos are not so great. But currently, this first topic is something that is extremely applicable to today. So, I've been watching more podcasts recently. This is set up for the first point here. I'm not just bullshitting. I've been watching more podcasts recently, and not all of them have been educational. Like some more entertainment-esque podcasts, which is cool, right? But when you think of the fact that they're 2 to 4 hours, right, you got to remember that that's all entertainment time that you're spending. And I've been kind of feeling this weight that has been dribbling into the back of my mind, and almost like an ambient anxiety that is forming. And now when I drive to work, which is about a 45-minute drive, I always keep the radio off and I don't listen to anything. I just think the whole way there and the whole way home. And that's kind of like my meditation time, if you will. But even then, I've noticed, and I've been hitting the gym every single day, and so, I have plenty of time where I'm dedicating to myself. But even then, I'm noticing that with all of this time spent on entertainment, I'm starting to get too much noise within the system, right? So my thoughts are becoming cloudy, and I'm not being able to think straight about everything that I'm working on and thinking about and paying attention to. And so, granted, there have been some other habits that I've been indulging in recently that might not be so conducive to positive brain activity, but not enough to where whatever. The point being is that I think this is at least a factor. I think the fact that I'm listening to way more podcasts than usual that are purely entertainment, that is a factor in my current state of being. So, my first point is be sure to include time for silence and listen to your thoughts and allow yourself to explore your mind, know yourself. Nice, man. I was afraid that I was getting a little too into the weeds the other night when I was writing these things, but that's not bad. It's not bad. So the benefit of time and silence is that you can just hear yourself. It's just you in there. And so you don't have any outside forces dominating your opinions or your thoughts or your inner voice, right? And so the more time you spend by yourself, the more you understand, this is how I think, right? The more you understand, I like this. I have this exact opinion. And it's really easy. There's so many things that you can pay attention to, especially quick format things, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, all that stuff. It's just immediate, jumping on you with all these different people's voices instead of your own, which I'm sure is fine in moderation, but you just have to include time in your daily or weekly schedule to release that tension and kind of back off of other voices so that yours can be the loudest. Because if yours isn't the loudest, then you're not really leading your life. And so, since I've been indulging a little too much in entertainment podcasts and things like that, these super long, like 4 or 5 hours that I've been listening to, and I'll go through it like every time I have spare time, on the way to the gym, on the way back from the gym, on the way to, not on the way to work, but, sitting, waiting to go to work, getting in the shower for work, cooking before work, all these things. Listening to the podcast. The only time that I have to think is on the car ride to and from work, which apparently when I'm dominating my time, or these podcasts are dominating my time with so much more voice, that mine is kind of dulled down. And so today I've kind of did the same thing that I normally do, like my first day off. I kind of organize things that I need to pick up to make sure that my 2 days off are productive. And so, I live in Miami, so fucking you go anywhere and it's at least a 30-minute drive. So instead of playing a podcast like I normally would, I just sat in silence. And then when I got to where I was going, it was at a shopping plaza, and I didn't really need to go to anywhere else, but I was like, you know what? I don't have a whole lot that I need to get done today. So I'm just going to walk, and I'm going to go into every single store here. And normally I would put my AirPods in, and I'd listen to a podcast the whole way through. But this time I'm just going to sit, and I'm just going to be with my thoughts. I'm going to be by myself, nobody talking around me, just listening to the sights and sounds of what is happening near me and what I'm thinking about, just so I can get tuned back into myself. And I have found that extremely beneficial. And even as just the day has gone on, not even 24 hours, I woke up at like 10, and now it's 5. Just in that time alone, which in the grand scheme of things is not very long, I've noticed this level of ambient anxiety is slowly subsided over time. And I can notice it periodically. I'll tap, just kind of touch in, be like, hey, okay, it's lower, right? If that makes sense. I kind of imagine just this tension in my gut that I can feel when there's any kind of anxiety, which usually means that I'm making not the best choices with something. Something is wrong. And if everything is cleared up, then my gut is relaxed. And so slowly as time would go on, where I'm just with my thoughts and alone with myself, I'm not alone, obviously, I'm in public places, but really I'm just with me. I notice that this ambient anxiety is slowly fading away. And that's great. And I think that if you get too caught up, it becomes like an addiction into just hearing other people's voices. It's the same thing as with drugs or alcohol or whatever. Like if you're on the internet too much, or you're watching TikTok too much, or you're on YouTube or whatever, Spotify, who knows? You get addicted to this time away from your own thoughts, so you don't have to deal with any of the stuff that is really going on within yourself, which is, the internal world is really the only one that has any effect on you most of the time. So if you're not dealing with that, that's like all of the stuff that you normally would or should be dealing with. And so if you just deal with everything else, it's all distractions. And so including this time, I think so far, my opinion is that it is extremely necessary and beneficial, and it kind of allows you to dull down the noise, right? It's like if you have this problem that you haven't been dealing with, and it's this real small thing that you just haven't thought about, if you take the time and just think about it for an hour, and then it's not this bug in the back of your mind, this rock in your shoe that you have to deal with. And so it just takes care of things. So including this seems to be very beneficial, and it gives you time to analyze your own opinions and your own beliefs, and really just take an inventory of your morals, your ethics, your thoughts, your behaviors, who you are, who you want to be, who you were before, the past, the present, the future, all these things. And if you don't do that, I'm sure many of you may know someone who obviously doesn't pay attention to what they say or what they do. And so, they pick something up on Twitter or some, internet forum or their parents or whatever, and they just regurgitate that information as if it's their own. And you can tell immediately, it's like, you start pegging them about questions and then they get emotional. Okay, well, as soon as you start getting emotional about things, it's an obvious sign of insecurity. So that means that they don't really believe what they believe. So to avoid that, just think things through. Take time. Do not play music in the car. Not all the time. Obviously, sometimes throw some bangers on, right? But, sometimes you're on a long drive. Just sit with yourself and kind of just go through. Your mind wanders automatically. So just allow it to, and go through and think about your childhood, about your parents, about, the last year of your life, about where you want the next year to go, and where, what you believe and what core values you hold most dear, and who you really are, and just take that time and kind of process through. Now, as a caveat to this, especially now, everyone's really pushing meditation. Everyone's talking about how you follow all these famous people, and they're always talking about, oh, I became rich and famous and all this stuff, and be starting to meditate just blew it through the roof. All the success came after they started meditating. And I always imagine that success on any scale is, how do I want to put this? When you achieve success on any scale, if you simply multiply the factors that led you there, if you can identify them, you multiply the factors that led you to that success and scale it upwards, then it is no different from massive success. You learned this one skill and it was really beneficial, right? What are the things that allowed you to learn that skill quickly or effectively? And then just multiply that up on a broad spectrum. Or a bigger scale. Since I have, in my opinion, achieved some success in a multitude of areas at some different points in my life, to no benefit from Jesus. I wasn't meditating when I got there. I wasn't meditating when I got this success that I would argue is success by my definition. And therefore, I do not believe that I need it to go further. Now, I may be proven wrong. That is my current belief. Really, it all sums down to I don't want to sit in one spot for an hour at a time, right? Even though people argue you can do it for less time, whatever. I don't want to sit and do nothing with my eyes closed when I'm perfectly capable of visualizing, probably more than most other human beings, actively doing anything else, even driving, right? So anyone who argues meditation, I think it is, like Alan Watts put it, a tool. It is a tool that does not need to be used, but can be beneficial, right? So I'm not saying meditation is bad. I'm just saying that if you can figure out a way to work just mindfulness and thoughtfulness into your routine, then you don't need to do that stuff. I think meditation is just a placeholder for that because most people don't have time, right? So for me, ironing out all of the time during my driving, which can be, upwards of 6 hours a day if I'm putzing around, that's way more beneficial to me and way more useful to me than sitting in a chair or on the couch for even half the amount of time to achieve the same results. Maybe, I don't know. I always get antsy when I'm sitting there, and I know that that's just a mind control. I don't have control over my mind. But if I achieve the same effects as described by people who actively meditate, then I see no difference. And I would argue that just taking the time to listen to your own thoughts is beneficial no matter the format. So, long story short, that's what I think. So if you include time in your schedule to just listen to yourself, no noise, not even, classical music or just lo-fi or whatever those beats are, binaural, whatever, any kind of noise in the background, ambiance, just get rid of it. Complete silence to where only your thoughts are the noise that you're listening to. Cool. Jeez. So, we'll wrap it up. Sorry, I'm reading. Weed out bad opinions is my last little note on there. So take the time to analyze beliefs and opinions, weed out the bad ones. Okay? Oh, nice. So this next one is, do not expect immediate support or understanding when you share your goals. So this is in the similar vein as don't talk about it, be about it. But sometimes you get excited and things happen, and it's easy to get wrapped up in what you're doing and then talk to someone at work or a family member or a friend and say like, man, this is so great that I'm doing this thing. Like, can you believe it? Hey, I just started this new workout program. This is what it is. Hey, I just started reading this new book. Hey, I just started reading. Hey, I just started, exploring new music. I just, whatever. And you put your goals out there. And sometimes it's met with excitement and they're like, hey, oh, wow, that's awesome. I'm so proud of you, whatever. But sometimes, and I've noticed that this is the case with much larger goals that are projected much more into the future. So say you have a massive vision, of some kind of project, something that you want to create, and it's all up here and you can see it. You can see it plain as day, like you're looking at a piece of paper, right? But then you try to tell someone about it, and even if you are very articulate and you explain it as you would believe effectively, they're just like, yeah, or like they'll try and poke holes in it or whatnot, and even if you have support for all the holes they poke, at the end of the day or at the end of the conversation, they just don't really buy in, right? And this is normal. And do not be pushed away or negatively impacted by this, because if you think about it, you can see all of this vision in your head, but the other person cannot, because it's not their vision. So how could they be as excited about your dream if they have not dreamt it, right? And this is kind of something that on a, not a big deal, on a smaller scale has happened recently where, as I've mentioned in the past, I'm not sharing this channel with anybody, but my two closest friends, I shared it with. I said, don't tell anybody about this, but just check it out just in case, I can get some feedback or whatever. 2 people is not going to influence numbers that greatly. And it was, okay response. It wasn't largely negative, but it also wasn't largely positive. And granted, I haven't really done much so far, and what I have done has not really mirrored my vision that I have for where I want to go with this channel. But either way, the point being is that I could take that lack of enthusiasm from my 2 closest supporters as, this is a bad idea, I should quit. Or if I know what I'm doing and I've thought this through, I've taken the time to think things through, then I can just say like, yeah, okay, that's fair for where we're at currently. Any criticisms that they have had are understandable, and I know where I'm going with it, and I know what I'm doing. So, or not know what I'm doing, but know that I'm going to figure it out. So it's okay, and continue pushing on. Right now, if you go fucking 10 years and it's negative, and you're not getting any success, then maybe it's like, you should reconsider what you're doing. But as of currently, given that I'm like barely a year into this, if that, I would say that it's reasonable to just push on, right? So don't be persuaded otherwise or dissuaded from, if that's a word, to do what you're passionate about just because you aren't met with the same enthusiasm by others that you have yourself, right? And this is kind of really just more backup evidence to just keep shit to yourself. Just keep it to yourself and let the results speak for themselves. So, imagine if I had never told anyone that I was doing anything on YouTube, and then suddenly I come up on their feed and I have X amount of subscribers and lots of channel interactions, and it looks very professional. They'd be like, holy shit, is this you? And I'd say, yeah, a Could have done that, but I get excited about things, and I already shared with numerous people that I had a channel, but I would never tell them what it is. And then now I've shared with 2 people that or what it is. Well, I'm a human. It is what it is. Not everything's perfect, but we'll wrap up that number 2 there. And it kind of looks like we got 4 on here. We're doing good on time, so. Oh, nice. Man, I'm freaking on it right now. I really expected this to not be as good as it is. I mean, whether it's enjoyable for you is another matter entirely, but as far as like the things on this page are things that are active in my mind. Sometimes when I'm writing things in the future, especially if I'm imbibing in any way, I get a little like manic and write things very grandiose. And that's not beneficial on a reread. When you go back through it, you're like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? Just chill out. Let's take it down a notch so that it's like reasonable stuff, right? And this is, I think, is so far reasonable. So, numero tres here. We have structure and discipline in your endeavors. Learn things that you feel are good to know. Pursue difficult things that you may not enjoy, but, and this is the rounding off of this point, also know are good for you. Oh, never mind. That's not the rounding off. So I guess we'll expand on that and then we'll get to the rounding. So basically I've got this sharp peak here, and then there's a second point that kind of levels it out. So have structure and discipline in the things that you are learning. If you're someone who is, trying to push their life in a new direction, a better direction, a different direction, you're going to be learning. You're going to be learning things that you believe are useful, applicable, beneficial, the things that are going to lead you onto the better path that you so desire. Now, you have to have discipline in these things. And this is something that I'm still working on. I've gotten better about it, but, I would like to have a specific amount of time per week that I have dedicated to studying. I kind of study here and there. I'll pick an educational video that is 4 hours in length, or I'll pick a topic. I have a list of topics on my board, or I have my Notion, and I'll when I feel like it, which is maybe twice a month, then I'll get really into the weeds on something and I'll learn on a specific topic. But most of the time it's like trickle in IV drip of knowledge on all of the things that I'm interested in, which is effective, yes, but it's more effective conversationally than it is like actual depth of knowledge, I've noticed. That's why I had to start reading, because I have all these areas that I'm interested in and I am collecting information on all of those different areas. But I noticed that when I think things through, I don't know what I'm talking about to the level that I would be comfortable with. Whereas if I talk to someone else who doesn't know anything about the topic, they're shitting their pants, I'm talking about dopamine or de-extinction or CRISPR or, low-level politics or fitness or diet, any of these things that I'm actively perusing, and the knowledge that I have is good enough to kind of shit on normal people, but that's not what I'm here for. I'm not doing it just because so I can look good in conversation, so I can look smart. I want to be smart, right? Not seeming versus being. This is fucking Hamlet days here, right? Seeming versus being. Are you smart, or do you just seem like you're smart? I don't want to seem like I'm smart. I want to fucking be smart. I want to know things, not seem like I know things. And so now that I've, started on this journey of learning things that I'm interested in and things that I believe I should know, I've been disciplined, but now I'm realizing that I can take it up another step, and that I need to be more disciplined. And to implement this, I would like to have, I would like to pick a podcast for a week or two. Podcast being the main form of my information. actually educational podcasts, not fucking, whatever bullshit that is just entertainment and ambient education. That's a big hot word today, huh? I must have just learned that or something. Jesus. Funny how vocabulary works. But the point being, I would like to pick some kind of series or sequence of information and then study it for a week. And then that way I can really pick it apart and think things through and develop an understanding of any ideology or information set or system or whatever that is contained within that information set, right? Because then when I talk about it, I can actually describe it to someone who knows nothing about it, and it's more beneficial for both of us that way. And I can, make it more applicable in my daily life. Like if I'm learning about rep ranges in fitness, right? What rep ranges are most effective for doing which different things? If I take a 5-hour podcast that I have sitting in my watch later, right? And then I listen to it once all the way through, and then I listen to it again with a notepad, and then I go back through it again with a notepad, and then I put that podcast away, and then I go through my notes, and then I dial them down, right? This is a study process. This is a process of study to where the information is being constantly ingrained in my brain. And that requires discipline. Bringing it back to the point here. That requires discipline that I don't currently have, but I am arguing that it is massively beneficial, that if I were to do these things, that my understanding of the topics that I'm interested in are going to be much better and more thoroughly thought through and understood than the method that I currently employ, which is watch podcasts, read articles, some book excerpts, right? Listen to people talk about it, and then just kind of process it through. If I were to do this, it takes it up to the next level, right? So that's kind of the plan, but not currently in effect. So I can't tell you that this is better because I'm not doing it yet, but I would say just theoretically, it seems obviously much better. Now the big but to that. So we have structure and discipline in how you learn, and steer your education. I guess this is more for people who are studying on their own, but I would argue that even if you're in college or anything like that, or in high school or whatever, and you have a curriculum that you are being taught, you can still do this on the side. You can still learn about topics that you believe are interesting or you believe are beneficial, right? So have discipline in these departments. Learn things that you believe are necessary for your life to get better. How credit works, how money works, how the housing market works, stocks, politics, government policy, any of these things. Health, fitness, whatever. Anything that you can imagine would be beneficial to you to know. Having the discipline to learn it, even if you don't really like it, right? Like I started learning about the dispute of humans' ancestors and how like modern archaeology has the wrong story. Like Graham Hancock's work, basically like refuting the current evidence of what we are and suggesting something different has happened through our history. And at first I was like, I don't really care, but I was like, maybe this is something good to know, just in case he's right. And then as I started learning about all these different people who are discovering different things, now I start uncovering all of these things that are actually really interesting, and I am kind of broadening my spectrum of knowledge. And that only came from me pushing in a direction that I didn't really want to go in, but I figured, you know what, I might as well, because it seems beneficial, right? Okay, so we have structure. I'm rambling a little bit, but have structure and discipline in how you learn things and what you learn so that you can push your mind in ways that are going to make you better and more functional, right? And the big but here is also allow time to do nothing. Like not learn about, well, okay, I guess that's actually a later video, but more learn about things that are not so beneficial, right? If you want to learn about shoes, learn about shoes. You want to learn about, like, I I don't know. You want to watch those so expensive videos on Insider or whatever. You know, watch Architectural Digest for 4 hours and celebrity home interviews. Whatever, right? You want to learn about things that you want to know about, that maybe not how beer is made, right? How this desk was put together, how it's made. That show is crazy. Is it super applicable to your day-to-day life? No, but it's pretty fun to watch. So, and you're still learning. You're still learning things. It's like the argument for reading coffee table books, right? Is it beneficial to your overall knowledge? No. Does it make you more conversational? Absolutely, which is obviously a benefit. It increases your charisma automatically. Maybe not automatically, but by some standard. So that's the whole argument here, is have structure and discipline for how you learn and what you learn, but include time where you kind of just take a break and you learn about things that maybe aren't so important. You know, you don't get caught up in the rat race of like, I need to learn how credit works. I need to learn how my money works and bank loans and interest rates. Right. You can get real wrapped up in that. But just sometimes de-stress a little bit and learn about like just lasers or styropyro or how to turn a microwave into a welding machine. Fucking who knows, right? All of this stuff is out there. And the big overlapping point here is to try and find a balance, which is always the most difficult endeavor, is to find a balance between two opposite points that are in conjuncture, right? You got this teeter-totter. It's really hard to sit it in the middle. When am I learning too much about stuff that doesn't matter? And when am I learning too much about stuff that matters too much? And I'm getting wrapped up in things that I'm not enjoying my life anymore, right? Trying to keep it at the balance is the big one, right? Man, we are rocking and rolling on time. I fucking am wrapping shit up right now. But another kind of caveat on this learning thing, because I think this is a big deal. This is a big deal, and as I argue often, maybe not often enough, is self-sufficiency. It's becoming, your own master to the extent that no one else could be a better master to you than you, right? And in doing so, you have to push yourself in different directions. And when you push yourself in learning, especially just accumulating knowledge, not only knowledge, but understanding of that knowledge and learning how to apply it, it's doubling down on this diversifying skill set, which I believe is in a past video. I don't know if I've done it justice completely, because this is like emotional intelligence for me. Is big dog. Diversification of knowledge set and emotional intelligence are like, so far, the top two priorities, because they extend the most reach in all of your different areas of your life, right? Diversification of your knowledge base is multiplied exponentially if you are just really trying to apply yourself in learning new things and different things in many different areas. And so, I didn't write it on here. I think I have it in the next couple slides. But I try, not often now, but previously in my life, I've tried to imagine like what I'm good at and what I'm not good at on broad spectrum ideas, like a Skyrim tree of fucking, what are they called? The trees of skill set. You know what I'm talking about? Where you go through and it's like all your different, sneak and archery and, one-handed, two-handed, all that stuff. You have to level them up periodically. As you know, if you've played that game, which, awesome game, obviously, duh, you can't do it all at once. And it takes a long time. You got to put in the time and get those fucking souls, and you got to really level everything up slowly and intentionally. And you can't do it all. You can, but it takes a long time, right? So this is it directly translates into what I'm talking about, where you pick some key avenues where you want to start sending, mental traffic. And then as you have the time, you slowly rank those up. And this kind of comes along with the thing that, like, to me, before I started doing this and pushing myself in new directions, it seemed like these podcasts and taking notes and starting a Notion and like having all these different areas was good enough. So that's like my first starting levels of the tree. It seems like this is pretty good. But then you get there and you're like, damn, this is really not good enough. And so now like I have to include real study time so that I can take things to the next level. So just trying to picture in your mind this, this tree of skill sets as your knowledge base or just skills in general, right? Like, what are you good at? What are you not good at? And try and level those things up one at a time. You cannot focus on all things at once. You cannot. Because if you do, you're going to go this tiny, tiny, tiny percentage, and it's going to be boring, and you're not going to enjoy it, and you're going to quit. Guaranteed. But if you stop and you become focused, and you pick one thing, I'm going to do this right now. And you do that for a little bit, and you rank it up. Then you stop, and you move over here, and then you rank this one up. And then you do that every so often. Next thing you know, you slowly are building this pretty solid base of information and skills and whatnot, right? Like you can apply this not only to what you're learning about, but also, working on your car or building your house or creating a garden or organizing your desk or organizing your kitchen and fucking cutting and cooking and writing and, creative writing or otherwise. Calligraphy, whatever. You can do all these things. So that's something I think I'm probably going to hit it in another video as well, just to double down on this. But I'll plant the seed now. That if you can imagine the skill set, the skill tree, trees, plural, it makes it not only easier to visualize, but it also makes it more fun. Because then it's a game. Right, and that's all it is. That's all life is a game. It's a game, right? You got to learn how to play, and the better that you know how to play the game, the further you're going to get, and the better you're going to be doing, right? And the more cool shit you're going to have, all this stuff. The more people you're going to know, the more connected you're going to be, the more points you get, money, all this stuff. And that way, it's not this slog of a grind to try and get from here to there, right? You treat it like a game, it makes it more fun, makes it more interesting. And then you can see these milestones piling up and you're like, hey, hell yeah, right? Cool. So, as always, we will recap these points and get into our life hack. This one is very dear to my heart, this life hack, which we'll get into in just a moment. So, our first point was to include time for silence. Include time to just be with your thoughts and just listen to what's going on in your mind and just hear yourself. Because there's brilliance up here. No matter who you are, there's insane amount of creativity and knowledge and thought and direction that gets drowned out with all this fucking noise that exists around us. You got your computer, it's like Wolf of Wall Street. Numbers and frequencies, and it's very right? That shit fucking sucks, man. It distracts you. You're pinging all over the place. But if you take time, you just slow down, and you just go a whole day or two, just listen to yourself. No movies, no music, no fucking podcasts, no partner, roommate, anybody bitching in your ear. Just distance yourself, take time, and listen to what's going on up here, right? And sometimes you'll be surprised what you find. And sometimes you find too much, and then maybe you gotta kind of slow drip it in. But, I trust that you'll figure out, again, the balance, which is the real game. Right, everything else exists on the surface, but the balance of everything is what exists underneath, and that's the difficult stuff. Maybe we can do a video on that someday, but, when I really understand it. But be sure to include time for silence, and that affects this anxiety that you feel where you're all pent up. Slowly drop them shoulders, baby boy. Come on, chill out. It's okay. And take the time to do an inventory of your beliefs, of your systems of being, of who you are, and assess whether, am I seeming this way, or am I being this way? Am I, or am I pretending to be, right? And if I say these things, do I believe them? If not, why do I say them? If I believe these things, why do I not say it? Just taking a total inventory of who you are and what you want to be, and is who you want to be in alignment with who you are, and if not, how do I get there? But you can only do this if you spend time up here. And the more you know yourself, the more confident you become. That's, I guess, a key takeaway that I kind of missed out here. This confidence that comes with knowing who you are, deeply, intuitively, all the way down, knowing yourself, is something that you can't get from, exercise, working out, becoming stronger, becoming more charismatic, becoming funny, knowing a lot about a lot of different things. You can get confidence from these things, but it is not the same as the confidence that comes from just knowing yourself and being comfortable with who you are. Right? Boom. Bomb dropped. Where's Bradley when you need him? Number 2 was, do not expect immediate understanding or support of your goals when you share them. And this is, again, sometimes I will argue that not sharing your goals is always better, but sometimes you want to, and I'm not saying that's wrong, right? I do it just as well. But sometimes you don't get the support that you think you're going to get, or the understanding that you think you're going to get, and that's okay. And don't let it push you off the path that you have designed for yourself. Still follow through with what you're doing. Even if they shit on you, if you're on a path that you have designed, hopefully you've thought it through, and no amount of shit talking can push you off that path, right? It can hurt your feelings. That's okay. It can challenge you and make you think and make you doubt yourself, and all of that is okay, because that's how you reinforce what you believe, right? Because it forces you to question these things, and questioning is good. It's good because then you realize, am I doing some fucking nonsense here, or is this real? Does this idea have legs, right? As Neil Gaiman says, does this have legs, or is it going to fall over? So if you don't have support, it's okay. Sometimes it's, even okay just to share because you want to share, not because you're expecting support. And expectations go a long way, right? And this is a kind of double down of don't talk about it, be about it. And then I also have a point that I guess I missed here on the first time around. Share when you have thought through why you are sharing. Otherwise, move in silence. So if you're just sharing because you're too emotionally excited and pumped up about something, it's higher statistical likelihood that you're going to get hurt because you have expectations. You may not have realized your expectations, but if you're excited, your expectations are, I'm going to share this, and they're going to be excited. And then if they're not, you're bummed out, right? But if you stop and you slow down and you lower that frequency to just this calm line, right? And you think through, why am I sharing this? Why did I share this channel with my 2 buddies, right? Did I share it because I want their support? Did I share it because I'm excited and I want them to be excited? Or did I share it because I trust them and I want to share it, right? Because I want to start pushing myself to open up a little bit more so that I'm not protecting this thing like the One Ring, right? The only way you know that is if you think it through. I thought it through, and it was like, okay, I'm going to have to share this eventually, just like I'm going to have to bring on a guest eventually. And if I sit here and I do it just by myself, and I do nothing, and I push it to no bounds, then, I'm doing nothing. Right? So think through why you're going to share it. And then share it if you must. Right? And then our double pointer here is have structure and discipline in how you learn and what you learn. So design the life that you want to live. What does that person know? Reverse engineer. Okay? And then even if you don't want to fucking learn those things, sometimes it's necessary, and have the discipline to learn those things regardless. Okay? And then also, on the opposite end of that, allow time to learn things that just you are interested in, right? Learn about fashion, learn about jewelry, learn about What coaster is the best for your coffee table? Who gives a fuck, right? Take time. This is even a bigger part of knowing yourself, is what do I like and what do I not like and what am I interested in? Like, what do I really want to know? You know, me knowing about the Gulf of Tonkin or whatever is not really beneficial to my day-to-day life. But I'm kind of curious. I'm kind of curious how that has any effect on Vietnam and whatnot. If it does, I don't know. I've just heard these things bouncing off of, the outer limits of what I pay attention to. And so I'm curious, right? I'm curious. Does it benefit me? Does it help me know anything about what's going on now? Does it help me make money? Does it help me make friends? Maybe not. But I want to know. So I'm going to spend time learning about it. So try and find a balance there. It's not going to be easy. It never is. Maybe it is for you. Fucking who knows, right? But usually the balance is the hard part. Cool. And also this little asterisk on the learning thing here, both things that are important and things that are not important, is the multiplier of diversifying your knowledge base. And the double benefit of that down the ladder of sometimes this knowledge translates. And so maybe me learning about this Tonkin deal, right, is going to actually help me better at managing money. Who fucking knows? I don't know. I haven't learned about it yet. But sometimes when you learn things, you can take the lessons from that and port it over into something completely unrelated, and then now you're better off for it, right? So, I believe we have gone through everything, and now we can get into one of Nick's life hacks here. This is a real deal, right? I'm trying not to put it up on too much of a pedestal so that not everybody's like, oh, Jesus, but it's pretty great. It's pretty great. And it is the shower beer, right? If you don't drink, whatever, take a juice box in there, fucking whatever. But you got a day off, right? It's especially good after extreme heat, sweating, exercise. If you go and mow the lawn out in the hot sun for an hour, right? And you're all sweaty and you smell like gas and green and, nasty. Go into the shower, turn it on nice and hot. I usually would say, I'm the same way with beer that I am with cheese, kind of. If I do one, I'm just going to be disappointed. So I might as well bring two. Because even if I don't finish the second one, at least I'm satisfied, right? So crank that shower up nice and hot. Usually I get on my phone while I'm waiting for it to heat up, and I find a video or some music or something that I want to listen to, right? I put that on, and while I'm doing that, I'll crack the first beer, right? And I will start drinking it while I'm finding what I want to experience while I'm in the shower. And then, once the shower is nice and hot, I will take both beers and my phone into the shower, and I'll put them in my little shower caddy, prop the phone up, and then I will finish the first beer. And the combination of the heat from the shower that is opening your pores and it's cleansing you of the dirt, and this ice cold fucking brew dog, unbelievable. And then, after I finish the first beer, I'll do my shampoo, right? And then I wash the shampoo out, and then I put the conditioner in, and then I'll do my soap lather, and somewhere in there I will have cracked the second beer, right? And then once I'm all soapy, I spend some time there, and I drink about half of the second beer. And I assume this is the equivalent of like a bottle of wine and a bubble bath. I've never done that, right? But I assume this is like on par or greater than that, because wine isn't generally cold. But this hot and cold deal, it is the most refreshing thing. So this is Nick's life hack. Next time, it doesn't have to be after some strenuous activity, right? It can be, you're just taking a fucking shower to start the day or to end the day, whatever, however you do it. Hot shower, cold beer, greatest fucking deal ever. And this is something that I learned. I think I learned this in high school, and I started it, and it was like eye-opening. And I thought maybe it was just like a cool thing that Nick did, but I've moved from many different jobs. Like, I've been in construction, I've been in the restaurant industry, I've been in landscaping, I've been in, all across a different field, retail. I've been everywhere. And it seems like everywhere that I go, there's, sometimes I'll just be bullshitting with some guy at work, and he's like, man, you ever had a beer in the shower? And I'm like, dude, life-changing. And then we'll just sit there and like gush over the shower beer. So it's a universal truth. And that is what life is all about, ladies and gentlemen. It's finding universal truths. And a shower beer is simply one of those great things, right? So, like I said, I'm very excited. I'm very excited about this. It's not often that I get to dote on one of my favorite pastimes, but just try it out. You don't believe me? Maybe, but fucking try it out. There it is. Right? And make sure the motherfuckers are ice cold too, because the colder they are, the better it is. This contrast is key, right? Some people think that it's just the fact that you're drinking in the shower. It's not about the drink. It's not about the alcohol. It's a little about the alcohol, but it's mostly about this hot and cold. And the beer signifies the end of the work and the start of the relax. And so you take this and you just crank it on nice and warm and you get in there. Boom. Follow that whole recipe there. You're not going to have a bad time. Put on some nice jazz, some little Frankie, that Sinatra, right? Whatever. Maybe some heavy metal, whatever the fuck you're into. Maybe nothing. Maybe use this time for your silence time, right? Either way, test it out. Let me know what you think. If it changes your life, which it will, leave a comment down below. And tell everybody else about it too, so everybody can start having shower beers, right? Ladies, gentlemen, I bid you adieu, and I believe we are all wrapped up, so I will say, Nick out.